Hey guys, welcome back to the Best Friends by Design podcast. We are your hosts, Janet
and Giselle.
And today on our podcast, we have two special guests, Samantha and Renata from IG Workshop, a Miami-based interior design and construction management firm. Join us as we explore the inspiring journey of two best friends turned business partners, navigating the challenges and triumphs of their main venture while juggling intriguing side businesses. Giselle and I are so excited to learn their secrets behind the successful partnership in both friendship and business. So let's dive in. Hi, girls.
Hi.
Thanks
Welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for joining us.
We're very excited to be here.
So, here's our first question.
Okay.
Can you both share a bit about your background and how you got into interior design?
Well, I actually went to school for engineering, funny enough, which has somehow helped me a lot in this construction world. But I was always very keen into the design world. Back then, where I went to school in my country, they didn't have an interior design career or profession. But my mom actually had the business. She had a kitchen company and a bathroom and a kitchen company. So I grew up with construction around me. And it wasn't until I moved here to Miami and I met Sam that I actually dove into the world almost 10 years ago.
How about you, Sam?
I always wanted to be an interior designer, but went to work in finance first. And then I went back to grad school at New York School of Interior Design. I worked for a handful of interior designers in New York, and then also went to do product design, where I learned how to do textiles and rug design, which I now use with my side venture. I moved to Miami when I met my husband and started doing interiors here with another business partner. She ended up having tons of babies and decided not to work anymore. And that was around the time that I met Renata. She had stepped in to help me with construction management, and then it just sort of naturally came together and we
evolved.
became,
Yeah.
It's so funny how like engineering, finance, they're so different, but they're so connected to what you do on a daily basis as interior designers, right? Engineering,
it helps
because
you
the
learn like
detail-
the business side
Right.
versus just
business
pretty things,
and also like detailing and like tolerances and knowing those like little
I think the problem solving is what
yeah
get to understand from professions like finance or engineering, right? In design, everything has to look pretty at the end, but there's so much happening before that you kind of have to have that like background to be able to understand and to analyze the whole thing and decide what can be done or how to fix this and how to make it work when sometimes the right answer is not so clear. So yeah, it's
Renata's the ultimate problem solver. I'm like, oh, forget it. And she's like, there's a solution. There's always
we
a
can
solution.
handle this. We
Yeah.
can handle this. So yeah, no, it's definitely, and again, finance, just as any other business, it helps to make it successful.
How many years were you guys individually in business before you opened up your own company together?
So I had IG Workshop for probably 2 years before Renata kind of stepped in, and now we've been together for about 9 years.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long
Yeah.
time.
So yeah.
And how about you, Renata?
I started with Sam. I was actually, when I moved to Miami, I was in real estate and finance. I worked for a few family offices in South America. And then I had my baby. I stopped that for about a year, and this is about the time where I met Sam. We both bought houses in the same, we're neighbors.
Oh,
so
good.
we met at this little island here in Miami, and we both bought houses at the same time. So we're like, okay.
Well, actually, we were
Let's-
in apartments, and then it was during the time when there was all these foreclosures. So we figured out how to get the houses we wanted through online bank foreclosure auctions.
Oh, wow.
We-
That's so smart.
We got them at the same time.
You must
but
have
then-
gotten a hell of a deal.
We did, but then the problem was we both had to sell our apartments we were in at the same time.
In the same building. So
And
we
we-
were competing
we
with
told
each
our
other.
husbands none of it. None of
No,
it. We
we're
didn't even
like,
involve
oh my God, we
them.
just bought a house. We gotta sell our other apartment, and we ended up selling it to sisters.
To two sisters.
The same
Yeah.
day.
That
Like
is
one
so
came into my door.
funny.
Right, and I'm like, there's another one for sale
They
in
were
the
like
same
sisters
building.
fighting, like who's gonna get her apartment. She's like, I've got a solution. I got another one
Oh my
upstairs.
God.
So yeah.
So we ended up selling those apartments and buying the townhouses, but they had been closed for almost 10 years. So we gotta like renovate with whatever time we got in between each closing. So we like partner up and we started like dealing with the contractors and picking the floors and negotiating 2-for-1 combo type thing. And we started that first project together. So that's when I think kind of sparked
Yeah.
the teamwork.
And at the time, I would get invited to like furniture events, and she's up for anything all the time. So I'm like, do you want to go to this event? Yep,
Like,
yep.
sure.
So then finally, I'm like, wow, do you want to do this with me? Because my business partner really wasn't wanting to work. She's still one of our very close friends, but she had 3 kids and was
Yeah.
sort of
It
out of
wasn't her
it.
time, yeah.
So Renata was like, I'm gonna either start my own company or I'll buy Melissa out. And I'm like, buy her out. She's like, buy me out. So
That's how it
it
started.
happened.
Yeah, but
Yes.
at that time we were working from home. We had a few projects, and
We were working from my guest room.
it kind
was
of
not pretty.
It kind of scaled really quickly. I'm like, okay, Sam, we're gonna do this. We gotta
Do it
move to an
right.
office and hire someone, and like, 'cause there's things that I like was very confident that I could do, and there were things that I didn't go to school for, right? That I had to subcontract. So that's how it all started, and little by little we became like the IG workshop that we have today.
No, I love the
Love that
fact
story.
that right from the beginning, you guys could have been considered competitors, right? And you could have, because
Yeah.
you both were selling a product that was competing with each other. But I love the fact that right from the beginning, you guys, instead of competing with each other, did more
You joined
joined.
together.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's such a way to start, and it's so unusual to find that in Miami.
Yeah. And ironically enough, so when we renovated those townhouses, we didn't have as much money, so we were on, not that we have so much now, but
Yeah.
We were on a budget.
we were on a
still
big
are
budget.
partners.
And now we decided this year to both renovate them again. So now we're
It's
both
happening
living
again.
in construction sites.
It's happening again. No, but I feel that since the very beginning, we both realized each other's strengths, and we were able to maximize those in a company that, I mean, that's what it is now, right?
We never had to say like, this is gonna be your role, this is gonna be mine. It just sort of
Organically.
happened
Well, that was
organically.
one of our questions for later on in our interview, but tell us about that, because that's one of the things that always intrigues me is, what do you consider your strength, and what do you consider not that, what do you consider your strength, and what do you consider your weakness, and how do you complement each other?
I would say, I mean, she's the ultimate hustler. I've never seen anything like it. Problem solver, can like get anything done. So I think Renata really is like taken the role of doing all the construction management, dealing with like all the, because we're building houses from scratch a lot.
Sure.
So all those things that I actually think I'm terrible at. And her patience is really high for that, and she deals really well with all the contractors, subcontractors. So I think that's really become her strength. And then I usually will stay back, concept, draw. I'm a drawer, so that's sort of, so I'll usually put together presentations. I mean, when we can, we'll sit together and we'll concept together. But then we got so busy with so many projects that it sort of just became a division of labor. But then, I'll concept, she'll come in, voice her opinion, we'll make a few changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we both step in on each other's roles, but that's
yeah, I
sort of,
think that nowadays I would think that, or if we had to put a description, she would be like the creative director, and I would be like the executor or project management
Yeah.
and all of all of the accounting and the business management side of it. It's on my end. But again, it's like whenever I can, she steps in. Whenever she's not there, I step in. So we kind of go through phases as well. And
It's fluid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fluid.
Yeah.
It's like a yin and yang too.
Yes, like
You know?
she's
It's
like,
your energies.
she remembers everything, the details, the meetings. I remember zero. And
But to be fair with you, she would remember where a light is from.
yeah, I
Even if
remember
she
where
saw-
furniture and lighting comes
Even
from.
if she saw it at a random furniture show 6 years ago,
And
she's
she's
like,
got the-
remember that like alabaster Wazconez that had the bronze
Oh,
detail?
yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
We saw it in this, and she goes back to her phone and she finds the picture, and we're so. Yeah.
That's good. Good memory is a good thing.
But just
It's
that.
selective.
Just
It's
that.
selective memory. It's selective memory, but it works. So
Yes.
How does your team look like today? Is
We've gone through a phase, and I think that with COVID, Miami changed a lot, and it got us to quickly evolve and try to keep the pace of the company at the same speed as what was happening in the city. And right now we're kind of stepping back a little and rearranging. We ended up with a group of 6 people, but at the end, we were not necessarily the happiest at the moment with everything that was going on. So we're trying to reconfigure our line of business now. We have right now 1 full-time employee, and we're outsourcing most of the technical drawings and CADs,
Renders, all that
renders. So we're trying to minimize spend and maximize income. So
Because more people doesn't necessarily mean better workflow either. Sometimes it's even more chaotic if there's
it
too
was a
many.
lot of management
Yeah.
of time
Mhm.
that took away from the things that we really had to do. And it wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was good at a moment, at that particular period in Miami where we had so much going on and we needed to be at 6 different job sites at the same time. So it worked then.
We're also
rather
trying
than-
now. We've been doing it for so long, and I feel like there was a phase where we would really take whatever job came to us. And now we've sort of stepped back and we're like, does this look something, does this client's style align with ours? Do we feel like it's a big enough budget? All those things. So now we're just being a lot more selective.
How many projects do you work on like in a year? Like what's your sweet spot?
I mean,
number?
to be honest, last year we were a little overwhelmed. We were at about 17 and it was a lot.
Yeah.
Now I think we're at like 7 and it's
Yeah.
much more manageable because the issue is, which always happened to us since we do a lot of new builds, we would think, okay, this one's about to go into permitting, we have time, we'll do this, and then all of a sudden all the permits would come up at once and we're like,
Or they won't come for
Yeah.
a year and a half, and all of a
Right.
sudden we're stuck at a project that we concepted 3 years ago, and now it's something the clients change their mind or whatever, so we got to start all over again. So it's, you guys know, it's hard to keep a
Yeah.
track of when everything's actually gonna happen, so you can plan how many projects you take each
Yeah.
year, and so we're.
Especially if you're project
Yeah.
managing and you have projects that are on the opposite side of the city. You have one in Aventura and one in Kendall or whatever.
Oh yeah, we have
Pinecrest.
yeah.
And you
And
guys
then,
are
you
moms
know,
too,
and
so
you're
that's
moms.
balance
Yes.
and balancing that out too. I mean, how old are your kids?
I have a 10 and a 13.
My son is 10.
So you're in it.
We're
Like
in
you're
it, yeah.
in it. So that takes, I'm sure.
Luckily, we live next to each other and they room free between the 2 houses.
Aw,
so
how
someone's
We have
watching them.
we have supportive husbands. as
Yes.
well. Let's give them credit for that.
We do have very supportive husbands.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
Yeah, it's work, but it's definitely a period where we're trying to prioritize a bit more of our own time and our kids' time than just grow, which we did, and it was amazing. But I mean, it comes with its consequences, and we again are trying to grow these other ventures that we are also working on.
So yeah, we both have independent companies as well as
So
ours.
what got you to do these different ventures? I know as creative people, we love to have other
Right.
outlets, but I'm curious, like what brought you to do that, and how do you see your future?
I own Art Loom, a rug
Right.
company, but I opened it simultaneously as IG Workshop.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I was a rug designer in New York, and then when I moved here, I started taking on projects, and I really wanted to make the rugs for my own projects. So I had all these contacts in India and Nepal from my previous job, and I started making my own rugs for my projects, and then other friends that were designers were like, oh, will you make my rugs? And it sort of just happened organically. So I had both of those companies together. So it's sort of just been growing along the side. And then
Yeah, Ware Collective it's a bit new, and it came through basically
she has Ware Collective. Would tell them what it is.
Ware Collective is a curation of brands that didn't have representation in the U.S. market, mainly for door hardware and bathroom fixtures. And it came because I love designing bathrooms. That's kind of my thing, and there wasn't that much available, or there wasn't something that was super special or funky. And door hardware, the same thing. There's like 2 or 3 brands that are either super mega expensive or they just look cheap, So through our interior design business, we traveled to almost every furniture show, and we started spotting all these like brands that we couldn't buy because we literally, and that's part of what I do. It's like, we have to get this sofa from this company. They wouldn't sell to us because they didn't have a distributor. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to import this ourselves and do it.
She came up with the idea for the company while we were at Salone in Milan, walking around, and she's like, they said they'll only sell it if it's a distributor. She's like, forget it, I'm just going to be a distributor. And we came up with the name while we were walking
Right,
through the
that's
fair,
how it
and she just
happened.
made it up.
So
Same thing happened. Same thing happened to us with
Yeah.
Moa Nova. It was probably the same show. Well, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
So it was the same
yeah.
show. So I guess we were in that making babies, making
And
It was
company
during the
babies.
pandemic show because
It was
it was not
It
as
was.
crowded,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there was a lot of construction like hardware type things, so there
that it usually
wasn't as
doesn't
much
show.
big furniture but smaller pieces, and that's when she came up with the idea for it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
It's fun. It's definitely been a learning curve because there's a lot of technicalities and specifications and certificates and such that I wasn't aware at the beginning, right? But so it's been a learning curve. I have the opportunity to use it in my own projects and learn with myself instead of other clients, So I did that for a while until I kind of oiled down all the details. And now it's open for business to any.
And I'm sure you're using it for your renovations, right?
Yeah, so the idea
She has
of
some
the
incredible
house,
door hardware
yeah.
in her house.
The idea of redoing my house was to be able to show a lot of the pieces that we use in our favorite brands, not only for work, so the ones that I represent, but also for interiors, because it's a hard sell when we go to a client and say, oh, we saw this amazing sofa in Italy and they want to sit on it, there's limited things in Miami, there's limited showrooms, there's some amazing ones, but also you pay the price, right? We get great deals if we buy them directly from the factory, so I wanted to kind of curate pieces from our favorite companies and have them enjoy them myself, obviously, and be able to host my designer friends hopefully very soon and be able to show them.
That's great.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Still not ready.
Still not ready?
Almost there.
Are you having delays like all our other clients? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like it's so funny, right? It's no
Being
different for
on
us.
the other end.
I feel like we're
being
mentally
the client.
prepared for it.
Yeah.
We expected at this
Yeah.
point.
I had very high expectations. I wanted to do it in like 4 months, which if everything happened exactly like planned, it could have, but nothing ever goes to plan, and there's delays in Italy, and then the summer closure.
I have no
and then the thing,
expectations.
and then as I guess any homeowner, it was like I started with like a few things, and then all of a sudden I ripped my whole house down, and
It's like,
brand
then
new,
maybe
but-
I should do this, and then you know what?
Well,
let's
I'm
just
at
do
it.
this.
you know what? And then my husband's going, like, now I want to change all the lighting. I'm like,
Oh my
okay,
God.
now I'm redoing all the doors and all this.
Well, you did this too. So.
Oh yeah, so we know.
Yeah, you
We
guys
know.
know.
But at least
And
like
that's-
now we knew that we were gonna tear it apart. And the one little area we didn't, of course we regret not tearing
Right,
it
of
apart.
course.
It was
Oh,
like,
sticks
really,
out
are
like
you
a
kidding
sore
me?
thumb.
Are you kidding me? One shower we didn't
Right.
renovate from the whole apartment. I'm like, really? That's so stupid. I just
Yeah.
should have done it
Yeah.
to save
But I
a
mean,
dollar.
luckily for all of us, I feel like at this point we have the contractors we want to
We
work
do.
with, the wallpaper guys, the drapery. So there's people we're comfortable with
Yeah.
that we know they're gonna not let us down because we work with them so much. So that we have that sort of benefit. Whereas I think when you're a client, you're always, wondering if someone's screwing you or taking, So at least we alleviate that part when we do it on our own house.
As friends in business and partners, how do you navigate any differences of opinion or creative visions while managing your company? Because it's tough, as friends,
Yeah.
you don't always agree. But I'm
We
curious
just
how.
beat each other up.
have some moments. In the creative part, hardly ever we have different opinions. I feel that we're very aligned in that area of the business. When it comes to business decisions, we have had arguments where we have to sit down and say, listen, this is good for let's evaluate the pros and cons, and we try to have a conversation.
But for
around
9
it.
years, we've been pretty good.
Yeah, we've had a few moments here.
It's
and there.
usually when we're doing like a show house or something that's like super pressure and it's like down to the wire that anyone would get like a little bit heated. But-
Yeah. Janet and I also worked together for a really long
Oh, you
time.
did?
Yeah.
Where did you work together?
Well, at the company I met Brett at
Ah.
originally, and then when we opened up our company, Janet worked for us for how long?
7 years.
Oh, like
Yeah,
a long
time.
time. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I have to say that the thing that I did learn, because I valued her friendship so much that I only knew as a true Latina, neither super hot or being nice. I didn't know anything in the middle. You're not surprised, right? So I think with age comes wisdom, and that's something that I learned. I learned how to argue fair. Have a difference of opinion without being heated. I hadn't learned that at the time, so that's why I asked that question, because I think it's something that you have to learn how to have a discussion fairly, you
Right.
know, and without being respectful with each other's ideas, but also having your boundaries. And
Right.
it's tough sometimes because you don't want to hurt the relationship and the friendship. So I'm curious.
But Renata's right though. From a creative perspective, I don't think
Yeah.
we really ever had a big argument or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
really just running a business together.
Yeah.
And you're tied to each other. You have
Sure.
joint bank accounts.
Of
you have,
course.
I feel like I see her more than my family most of the time. So,
How about dealing with a difficult client? Is there
Who's-
one of
yeah.
you who's more okay, I got this, I'm gonna handle them, and the other one
And
that just
probably
wants to-
Renata. Well, it depends.
Stay shy.
We think that the clients are difficult for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I'd say usually if someone really pushes my buttons, I just shut down and she just takes over. But then there's
Smooth it
been
over.
cases where it's been the other way, but
Yeah.
she's much more diplomatic, I think. I think because I'm doing all the creative on it, I take it a little bit more personally when they
She
start
gets-
nitpicking and
She gets personal.
Yeah.
I don't get personal. I mean,
That's so important.
I can be very annoyed, but I'm also very straightforward. So I would, if someone's ever, and there has been occasions where they've been, I don't want to recall right now at the moment. This is supposed to be a nice conversation. But there's definitely been instances where I've had to step my foot and say hey.
but that's actually what she's good at.
Don't-
I cower at that and she'll
Yeah.
stand up for us and be like, this
is
isn't
not-
acceptable.
This is not how the conversation is gonna go, and here's my point. You either do this or do that. And I hate the idea of leaving something half done, right? And there's been a few, not many, instances where we've been like, we want to fire the client. It's impossible to work with. But I always give a second.
That's when I
chance.
realized.
That's when she's like,
You're like, I'm
if
done.
you want to
She's
do
like,
it, you can,
But on the
it's-
flip side, when we have a client that I love, I mean, I really love them. I go to dinner with them all the time. I stay super tight with them. We do all their projects. Like, then they become my family.
Friends,
So,
yeah.
like you said, I'm either super hot or super cold.
Yeah, but that's the balance, right? It's
Yeah.
like trying to figure out that. I mean, I think it's so great when you have a partner because I know Janet carries all the weight in her business by herself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we do talk about things, but
It's like a buffer. A little
it is
bit.
a buffer, and I know I have that with Brett, and it really has helped a lot. Because there are times where, I'm a chicken shit sometimes, and I will be like, babe, you take that call.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, or it's been the other way around where, as evolved as I think I am, sometimes it just comes out, and he's had like a vendor, somebody on speakerphone, actually recently, and they were going off on him. And I'm like, you do not speak to him like that. This conversation's over. And I'm like, you don't talk to my man like that. But that's the thing. It's like, whether it's a husband or a friend, in business, you can't help but have this protective energy towards them. And as professionals as we try to be, when somebody crossed the line too far, I don't know about you, but Mama Bear comes out, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
I feel like I've done that for you, and you've done it for me too, where
Yeah.
someone will pick on her, and I'll go after them. But yeah, it's sort of just.
And it's funny because people don't realize that we are a team above it all, right? We can maybe have discussions in the back of like we
you're
there-
loyal.
There might be some tense moments or whatever you want to call it, but for the client, we are one. Sometimes there's been instances where a client calls me and to talk about her, or she go. It's like, but Renata didn't go.
Meanwhile, we're
didn't
sitting
bring
next to
her,
each other.
and we're like, and we know each other's schedule to the T. Like we know exactly what has happened, and we back each other up because that's what we do.
That's
and
what you
because
do.
We do consider ourselves very responsible, and if something is not right, it's not because of us, like we always give it our all, and we gotta figure out how to get this done, and we do it. But yeah, there's definitely been moments where we had to step out for each other.
It's not a business for the weak, you know that.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
It really
it's not.
isn't.
You
It's
have to
not.
really have a thick skin to sort of get through, because if you think about it, and to no one's fault, but this is like, whoever the client is, this is a large sum of money they're spending, and it's personal, it's where they're living. So everybody's like really tense, they want to move in, the timelines are never good, so it's just like, it's a tough situation to get through. And I think when people hear, oh, you're an interior designer, that sounds so fun.
I know. I always
think
get like
that.
there is nothing fun about it. The end is fun.
I think of it as like pregnancy, right? The beginning, you're so excited for this beautiful little thing, and you can't wait, and then through like the awful where you're like super fat, and like this is the worst, I'm never gonna do it, and then at the end it's so beautiful, you're like, I should do this again.
Right. What were some of the key challenges you faced when starting your interior design company, and how did you overcome them? Like, what was like those moments where you
Nothing
were
was super easy. No, I'm just kidding.
well, you mentioned starting
Well, you had the head start, right? Because you already had IG workshop kind of like in
Right.
the works. So by the time you came in, it's kind of like you filled that role kind of that was like kind of necessary in your business, and then but you had done the startup part of
Interestingly
it.
I had, but I will have to say, like, my projects were a bit smaller because I was just starting out in Miami. I had moved here from New York, and I think when Renata came on, she sort of gave me the balls to go, like, pitch to way bigger jobs than I thought we could do. And she was always like, oh, we'll fake it till we make it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I think that was a challenge for me, because I'm like, can we handle this whole building? Can we... we did a store, we did an office building, and I'm like, are we like advanced enough for this? But that was where she sort of stepped in, and she's like, if someone else can do it, why can't we? We're smart enough. So that was like a little bit of a challenge for me at first.
I think that the biggest challenge in construction in general, and from what I hear in other countries even, it's all about the team that you partner with. Anything from obviously the contractor and all your vendors. I mean, it took us a while to find
That's true. That was a big
right
challenge.
people, like that show up, that come in, do the job right, and that you can grow with and give them more responsibility. I think for a few years that was our biggest challenge, find those even little things as a handyman or an electrician or the window guy and the wallpaper guy and the contractor, and until we had that vendor list solid, it was always a struggle. Yeah.
But I think still is even when it's solid, because then they start acting a little.
I think we have some that are just literally always on.
It's when the clients question you and they want to see 3 different quotes, and I'm like, I've gone through this already. I can show you 3 different quotes. There's definitely going to be a cheaper one, but you get what you pay for. And our guys are not, so they're not going to be the most expensive. We just know they work, and I have more leverage with them because I give them so much business.
Our favorite clients are the ones that are like, we'd rather use the people that you feel comfortable with,
Right.
and then off the bat, that job is going to go a lot smoother than the ones that fought you and they had a sister who used this guy, and it just never works out as well as when you have the people you trust.
For people who want to hire interior designer, this is a big, I think, tip. When we work with tradespeople, we spent years
Yes.
teaching them how they like it for IG Workshop, for JPID, for B&G Design. We teach them how we like things. When we start with a new vendor, it's starting from scratch. And they don't know how we like our systems or how we're scheduling or even working with the other trades connected. So even though they might think they're getting a better deal by bringing one of their vendors, they're not. They're
So
getting
well said.
Time is money. And the more that we get to work with our trusted tradespeople that we've taught and nourished through all these years, your work is going to shine that way.
100%.
Not that I think we're all open for new vendors always,
Right.
and we got to keep all our people honest, but I do feel that there's value in that. So guys, that's a good tip for you to take when you're considering hiring.
I mean, just think about it. If you are working with a contractor you're used to, they'll answer your phone on a weekend.
Exactly.
But other people might not. So.
Not that we want to get
No, I don't
calls
want to
on
work
the
on the
weekend.
weekends.
But yeah, no, there's
Yeah.
anything.
They'll know.
There's an open line of communication. They know how you respond. They know how you it's just that, and there's a trust that has been built over the years. You pay for that.
And they know what you'll find acceptable and not.
Right.
They'll be like, no, she'll
100%.
never, she will
Right.
not approve this. Like,
Yes.
don't even, it's never gonna fly, Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I have to
Redo
fix
it.
it because otherwise she won't give me, all these other jobs. So it's, I
Right.
think the team and the partners along the way are definitely the most challenging to sort out when you're starting a business like this.
So Miami's hot right now, super hot, right? There's a gazillion interior designers or interior decorators, people offering services. How do you guys feel about that, and how do you guys stand out from all the noise that's happening in Miami?
I actually think Miami interior design as an industry is a very friendly interior design industry. I mean, I've worked in New York.
Yeah.
I've deal with designers all over the country through the rugs, and I think the nice thing about our industry here is we're kind of all friends. You guys
Yeah.
hang out with us, and people go to dinners and we see each other a lot. But I do think that I could tell you if a client came to us if they would like our aesthetic, or if they'd like your aesthetic, or if they'd like my other friend's aesthetic. And so I think that I welcome it. I'd rather a client hire us because they've seen projects that we've done and they love that look than shop out a million interior designers to see who's going to give them a better price. And so I I think there's enough business in Miami
I
for
agree.
everyone. I'd rather someone hire us because they love what we do. You know?
Exactly. I agree.
And both of you, your personalities and just, just the vibe that's such a connection.
It
They
is.
have to
It's
have
a
that connection
relationship.
to you.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say, to me, there's no competition. It's what you have, whether you have a connection with that client or you don't.
Right.
And it's like dating.
Right.
I always say that,
You're
it's
stuck
like
with
you
them
first
for a while.
interview each other and you're dating, right? And then you go into like further into the relationship, and if your project's lasting 2-5 years, who knows, depending how
It's
long.
a lot of time
It's
together.
a lot of time together. So at the end, if you're still married, that's a good thing. Or
And
if
I
you
think
got
if
married,
I think if someone chooses another design firm, that was probably meant to be.
Exactly.
There's a reason,
Yeah.
So I think it's plenty. Maybe if the industry wasn't so hot here, we would
Yeah.
all feel more of a struggle. But there's so much development. There's so many new
So much
buildings
work
going
out.
up. And then additionally, there's so many different areas of Miami. You have Coconut Grove, you have Key Biscayne, and I think different design firms have like their little niche
I
neighborhoods.
agree.
And
Yeah.
so I think that to me doesn't really seem like a major problem in Miami.
I don't think so either. And I think if you're good and you've established your loyalty and you're consistent in the market, I mean, people want to see that, that
Right.
sense of consistency, the repeat clients, and the fact that you're visible too.
Mhm.
And I think that consistency is where, we've been doing this for a long time. You see who's been around and who hasn't.
Right.
And who sticks around and who continues to grow. So for me, it's always interesting to hear people's stories and to see their evolution and what
And we're
works
also
for them.
happy to refer people. We had
Always.
an instance 2 years ago where a girl came to us with this beautiful house on one of the private islands, and honestly, when she went through her aesthetic, I knew we couldn't design in it. Not because it was bad, it just wasn't our look. So I sent her a list of designers I knew that would design into her aesthetic, and I think it's a better way to be than getting into a project that is going to go south.
I always say
Exactly.
that it's better to refer to another design firm because you got to leave room for you to grow, for the right person to come
Right.
into your relationship.
Exactly.
And it's like the same thing they say about your personal life, a relationship. You got to leave that room. And that's been like my philosophy a lot. And I don't know about you guys, but we definitely have a niche market. Like we don't do, really traditional homes.
Right.
We do contemporary homes, and your work is very you. Like when
Right.
I know, I don't even have to see the name who did it. I know it's your job.
But that to me is the dream.
That is the dream,
It's
it's the
like looking at
signature.
Kelly
Signature.
Wurzler or
Exactly.
the designer Briggs Solomon here
Yeah,
in Miami.
yep,
You
yep.
can walk into a house and
It's
know it's
true.
exactly his. And I love his aesthetic, but I love that you walk in and you know he did it. I think that's
Yeah.
that means like you're a true artist,
You are. It's like that fine line. You want to continue to have your design evolve, but you definitely want to have a signature stamp.
Uh-huh.
And I think that, the next one of our closing questions, what would you advise an inspiring interior designer that wants to open up a firm? And I think that's would be one really good advice. It's like
Yeah.
have your stamp, have your signature, but please.
And also push the envelope. Don't necessarily just peruse Instagram and Pinterest and think like I'm going to do this, but you are the professional. You're not just the decorator. So what can you do that hasn't been done before? And that's the stuff that will really put you in editorial and put you on the map and that kind of thing.
And make you stand out.
Right.
Yeah.
What would your advice be? Don't go into
Be
business with
very-
Sam.
Be very patient. No, be very patient because it takes a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a learning curve. Even the contracts, like how you write your contracts. We've learned through the years what we need to include and what we maybe shouldn't.
You keep adding to it as
We
you
keep-
go too.
We keep adding
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that and talk to people that know their thing and that have been there and
Yeah.
try to be open to suggestions from other people in the industry, because when you're starting sometimes you have that ego, right? I'm gonna do this and I can do it all, and I was one of them, and all of a sudden I realized that there's so many people that could have given me so much information, and through the years we've definitely, I mean, gotten info and help each other. But yeah, that would be my biggest advice. Just learn from other people's mistakes
Right.
along the way.
And people are willing to share. It's
100%.
very
Yeah.
interesting. You're right. Our community in Miami, when I've sat down with other designers and we start speaking, I think the moment you show your vulnerability, I think people's guard gets let down, and then they're willing to share their vulnerability and their stories. And when you realize that we all go through the same process,
things.
the same problem, none of us are special. We all get the cray-cray, you know? So once you feel that, you're like, oh my God, this company that I respected and they seem to have their shit together, they go through the same that we go through.
I mean, we have at least like a group of 20 interior designers in Miami that we like vent to each other, and we're all going through the same issues, you know.
Plus, it's fun when you have all the events and you walk in and you see like your design friends. You know, it makes the whole thing feel more community instead of just, you know, we're out there dealing and competitive. So
I've left out of those events with great advice on how to handle situations or handle a client or a vendor that I wasn't familiar with, and you know, you guys have even given me advice as well, so it's nice. And of course, we're giving you guys business too, so it's a nice like synergy.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
So
I
your
think it
showroom,
keeps us-
the Art Loom showroom you have here, right across the street.
Yeah, right next to us.
Let's take a tour.
In the design hood.
Design hood.
I know when I found out they were moving in, I was very excited about it.
Me too.
I love that little building. It's so
Thank you.
cute. It's perfect location.
Renata and I were working both in interior design firm and my rug company out of this tiny office on the beach for a while, and it just started to like get crowded with rug samples and wood samples, and we couldn't do it anymore. But every time we've taken that next step, it's been her and this real estate guy here in Miami that we've done all his houses, his office, but they always come in and bamboozle me. They'll like pretend it's social, and then they're like, you need to move.
We need to move. We need to invest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it started. We've been almost a year and a half.
A year and a half
A year and a half in the
So the
Yeah.
design studio is also
All three
Okay.
companies are run from the same wonderful
And Ware
space.
Collective as well.
Yeah.
We can find your beautiful pieces
Yes.
there.
Yes. So I have
Great.
all the door hardware samples there, and all the material finishes, and yeah. I
Perfect.
can also take you to my house.
Oh, I can't wait to
Very
see
soon.
it.
Start the new year with a
Yeah.
fresh new
Fresh new
space.
space. I'm very excited. So yeah.
Great. Looking forward to seeing it and seeing you girls
Thank
this
you guys for
holiday.
having us. This was fun.
Thank you.
I don't feel like it was a podcast. I just feel like we were
Well,
talking.
and that's what we want it to
We
feel
should
like.
have cocktails.
I know. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. See you later. See you on the next one. Thanks, guys, for joining us.